Think about the courage that it takes. I mean, the guts that it takes to do that. Think about that Gorbachev completely transformed his country with glasnost to give his people for the first time freedom. And then through perestroika, by reforming Russia's economy. He didn't wait for the next president. He didn't complain. He simply said, if not me, who?
Why you space? I mean, I think it's something that, or I would say 80% of the people I meet would love to go to space. And it's up to us to produce spaceships and that enable them to go safely and affordably. And that's the challenge that we've set ourselves. And you know, creating a space line, look, it's fun. I mean, fucking, you know, I mean, like, you know, you only live once, and if you know, if I'd done nothing else in my life but create a space line that you know, could take people into space, I'd feel pretty chuffed. And
so the first thing people need to know is that there's something called the FDIC, and the FDIC insures each bank account
250 grand,
and you're only going to get back 250,000. Because when you deposit money in the bank, you are no longer the benefactor and the owner of that money. You've given it as a loan in a right of use, right?
This is well known.
To the banks. Not to most people, to people like us.
Okay.
I mean, Phil, you know, he's got like one good hip on like the best day of his life. It's like if some shit goes down, he's doing nothing to break that up. So I'm assuming it's a little intimidating. But what he would do is he would do things indirect. And it wasn't about calming the waters. It was about stirring up the waters and creating a storm that eventually would lead this broken ship to the shore it was trying to get to in the first place.
So was he constantly instigating and steering in his own way?
That's what he was doing, man.
And we have very weak leadership. We have incompetent leadership. We have leadership that doesn't understand that this is something that can happen. We would have been selling to Europe. We're #1 in the world at energy. Biden took the strategic reserves that I was filling up, and he emptied them out now to the lowest point. Even we mentioned before the supply chain. Who ever heard of a supply chain problem? You order something and you get it. We've become somewhat of a third world country. Sorry to tell you that. I mean, you're the press, because, you know, the press used to be like a piece of paper. It's called Nord Stream 2. Oh, absolutely. I have people investigating me over nothing, over things like the boxes hoax. And we had a DA from New York who campaigned, and an AG in New York, campaigned on I will get Trump. You see it.
Y'all know what I'm talking about? I mean, it's, sometimes you go in these places and they look like they were weaned on a pickle. You know, I mean, it's, life is bad, you know? And so, and anyway, this place, they, you know, want people raising their hands like they knew the answer to a question or something. And, you know, and one woman's up there swaying, and I'm like, I told Sharon, we were sitting on the back, I told her, I said, if they get out snakes, we're leaving.
And from reading your work and understanding your position on happiness and it not being the thing to aim for, which really struck me, because I thought, you know, I thought life was, the North Star of our lives was to try and be happy. I guess my question is, I was going to ask you that question.
Aim to be good and pray for happiness.
So the question I was going to, is pretty much that, is what is a better question for me to ask you if I'm checking in on you? Because we asked that question with good intentions. Are you happy? What's a better question for me to ask Jordan Peterson?
How are you doing?
When you have these little fragile punk ass hands touching the bar, you know, imagine 4,030 pull-ups, how many times you're coming on that bar, coming off.
Right.
And I weighed 207 pounds at the time. I'm like 195 or 185 now. So I was 22 pounds heavier. So I was a lot bigger there. I am right there.
Yeah,
Bam.
you look pretty thick.
Get that shit, man.
So you were doing it in sets of 5?
Sets of 5. So yeah.
And how long did you do this over? 24 hours?
It was 7. So I broke it at 17.
Wow.
And I was fucking over it.
What did it feel like on the last chin up?
So this guy named Stephen Highland had the record. And the video is my last 3 pull-ups before I broke the record. I'm talking so much shit to this motherfucker. I'm like, hey, motherfucker, you thought I wasn't going to get it, huh? I told you, bitch-ass motherfucker, I'm coming after you. I'm here now.
And one of our readers asks, Yuan Yi Chin from San Mateo,
how Warren Buffett would rate President Trump.
Well, I'm not going to rate the presidents, but I would say that communication is enormously important for a president. Now it's much more diffused, and obviously President Trump feels that he does not like it filtered through the traditional news media, so he's going to do it directly. I believe communication is enormously important for a CEO, and I like to talk to our shareholders directly. If I were frustrated with my ability to talk to the people I'm responsible for, I would try to figure out a way to do it directly.
As you think about where you did start, is there other advice that comes to mind that you give to other people that want to build products that you can take away from the early days of Facebook? Well, why don't we start with just the early days of Facebook? Tell us what it was like when you started it.
Well, for me, the thing that I was really fascinated by, and always have been, is people, right? And how people work. When I was in college, I studied psychology and computer science. And one of the things that you learn when you study psychology is that there are all these parts of the brain which are geared just towards understanding people, right? Understanding language, how to communicate with each other, understanding facial expressions, emotions, processing. Yet when I looked out at the internet, right, in 2004, which is when I was getting started, you can find almost anything else that you wanted, right?
As you think about where you did start, is there other advice that comes to mind that you give to other people that want to build products that you can take away from the early days of Facebook?
If you're in a game, make sure you're in it all the way, all in with it, and then that game will be your game. And I've only kind of taken this philosophy recently. Like I said, I've had dips, lacks of motivation, dips in commitment. Yeah. And I'm figuring it all out, and I'm feeling good in a great place. Honestly, thank you for this. Appreciate it.
You are like, you're yourself completely. But if there's any athlete we can relate you to, it's probably Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
But did he have an influence? I had the privilege of getting to know him a bit. He was just unbelievable.
Wow. I saw the book you have in the little,
downstairs,
in the submarine.
Yeah.
What a place, man. Big respect, Tony, man. Honestly, I know we're interviewing me, but I want to interview you as well. Like, your story is insane. Like,
thank you, brother.
It's crazy how you've risen up, and it's through that positive mind frame, and
through
that conviction.
That's right.
Commitment and conviction and
total
passion,
conviction.
and big respect to you.
You take a guy that can earn $1, forever wealthy, because no matter what comes, he can grow it back. The willpower, the belief, the confidence. And just like you go to the gym and you lift your muscles, right? You have to exhaust them to grow them. Your confidence must be the same way. It must be tested every single day. Safety, comfort zones are dead zones because your true potential will never be matched, guys.
And you have no future. Because if you're not doing what you love to do and throwing your whole heart into it, you're just marking time. Now, when you find what you love to do, it'll be something that gives you energy, it motivates you, it enthuses you. It's probably something that you were meant to do from the time you were born. I just do what I like to do. He said, I've never worked a day in my life. He said, I just played with planes since the time I was a kid. So one of the things that you can do is go back to the time when you were young, as a child between the ages of 7 and 14, before you discovered boys or girls, and what is it that you really love to do? And you'll often find that within that is something you're supposed to do as an adult. Went from job to job, and then I discovered that all people who are successful are excellent at what they do. You know the old question they asked Willie Sutton, the bank robber, why do you rob banks? He said, well, that's where the money is.
I tell you, I heard this all the time, but I want to tell you, don't ever let them stop you from dreaming and from shooting for the big goal. Because eliminate just simply those words, no, impossible, and it can't be done. I mean, in each one of my careers, when someone said it's impossible, I heard it's possible. When someone said it can't be done, I heard it can be done.
Scripture changed my life. You have not, because you ask not. You have any idea how major those words are for you? You have not, because you ask not. You have not, because you ask not, and write the vision and make it plain. Second reason people don't have what they want, and I'm gonna be through with you. This is a very, very important piece to success. It says, write the vision and make it plain, so that he who reads it will run to it. If you do that in faith, if you read your list with the expectation that God is going to do some great things for you, at the end of 1 year, you will be stunned, absolutely stunned at how much stuff comes off that list. I promise you, at least 30 things will be off that list.
And I said to Germany, why would you do this? If you ever ended up in a war with Russia, I will hereby give you the great white flag of surrender, because that's what you need. You're going to surrender. They're going to do 80% of their energy through Russia, who they've fought wars with over many years, but they fought many wars. And I said, you can't do that.
So when I was doing my clinical work, which I did a lot of career work with my clients, both at a beginner level, I would say, like really a beginner level, with people who had no employment whatsoever, no history of employment, who were undereducated and who lacked every skill you could possibly imagine. So these are people who were really in dire straits, up to people who were operating at the top of their profession, but who could still strategize forward. And so, for example, let's say you're at a dead end in your job. Okay, so I don't find my work meaningful. All right, so that's a problem statement. It's like, well, why not? I find the work I do repetitive and boring and without spirit. I have a bad relationship or a neutral relationship with my boss who doesn't know who I am. I have problems with coworkers. All of that needs to be differentiated, right, and analyzed in detail.
What do you get out of impacting people?
So that's when you move from motivation to driven to obsessed. And I want people to realize once you get to this portion over here, the driven obsessed part, you're unstoppable.
This commitment that you have to authenticity is one of the reasons why people are connected to what your message is. We've all seen motivational things that are bullshit.
But it's my job now to take these weak people in the category that I was in and say, stop reading the bullshit. Stop listening to the bullshit. If someone calls you fucking fat, they may be bullying you, but you might be fucking fat.
And that terrible feeling when someone does tell you that you're fat, you can use that as fuel.
That's it. That's my 40% rule, man. Guarantee it. This at David Goggins, man.
Much, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
David Goggins, ladies and gentlemen.
Upton was saying what Trump and I are saying, and what Jim Rickards and Nomi Prinz and all, we're saying we got to change what we teach our kids.
Right. Try to change that soul, that DNA, and introduce a real different mindset.
Yeah. Well, is they've got to teach them, as Einstein said, imagination is more important than knowledge. Yeah, but you got to have the basic knowledge of taxes, debt, financial statements, and all that. If you don't want to learn it, I can't help you. So my poor dad never wanted to learn what my rich dad was teaching me.
Right. You wrote books with Trump because you both were passionate about teaching this knowledge. You both had rich dads that opened your minds up to possibilities. And again, it's almost like an investor's mentality. How can I afford this? You're thinking about everything in life as an investment, invested of time, of money. It's an amazing mindset to have.
So humans are getting more and more powerful.
Because when you deposit money in the bank, you are no longer the benefactor and the owner of that money. So you have the situation whereby you only have $250,000 insured. At any moment, a bank run can happen and your money's gone. So the first objective is to become self-banked.
Diversify.
Self-banked. What does self-banked mean? Is that you do not depend on BlackRock through a 401k to be trading basket of assets for you. So what are the basket of assets you could tap into? You can tap into Swiss francs, Singaporean dollar that are, a little bit more stable than the US dollar, gold, silver, physical, right? And that's Swiss francs, Singaporean dollars, emerging country, very low debt, and great GDP. It's very small, but I think in its current format, it is one of the financial and technological hubs in the world. I'd definitely be comfortable putting my money there and diversifying there.
And that's one of the things that I've gotten from paying attention to you is that you what you're preaching, what you're talking about is finding yourself through struggle.
That's it. It's the only way to find yourself. You don't find yourself, if you like bench pressing and you bench press all the fucking time, what are you finding out? If you like to swim, that's all you want to do is swim, what are you finding out? Put that, people always, people talk about triple down on your fucking strengths.
Right.
That's the fucking weakest shit in the world. No, triple down on your fucking weaknesses.
Yeah.
Find out something about yourself. You already know the good shit. You already know the happy shit.
Right.
So we might say, for example, let's say you believe that you're undervalued at work. And maybe you are. What you need to do is you have something to say. And we would have to figure out what it is that you have to say. But it would be some variant of, I'm bringing more value to the table than I'm being compensated for. And that's demoralizing me. And it's also not good for you being my boss, because if I'm actually more valuable than is being recognized, then the fact that you're not valuing me properly means that I will become demoralized, I won't work properly, and you won't get the best out of me. So it's bad for both of us. And if your boss is in principle not amenable to such a discussion, then what you should seriously consider doing is finding another job. Okay, so let's say we're going to set you up for this. Okay, this isn't like next week's enterprise, man.